Hey everybody, welcome back. We're going to finish up lesson 17. We're on part 8. If you notice right here, the workspace has this link here. We're going to be working on this particular game, if you will. It's a flyer game for a while, so make sure that you carefully do each step. So it says, increasing a sprite's Y velocity inside the counter pattern can simulate gravity. By adding user interactions, you can make your sprite appear to jump as well. For starters, you'll make a simple jump and then make it more realistic looking in the next level. So it says a sprite has already been created for you that falls because of its velocity. Its Y velocity is increased inside the draw loop. So let's see. So our character's velocity Y is increased, not by much, but by enough. All right, 0.1. And you can play around with that. It says, inside the if block that checks whether the up arrow has been pressed. So right here, it's already in there for you. If the up arrow or the up arrow key went down, so if you hit the up arrow key, the sprite's Y velocity, set the sprite's Y velocity to -5. All right. Sprite's velocity Y. And that was our character. Yep, character. I said to set it to -5. Okay, so let's reset and run. So if I hit that, you can see that it goes up, kind of jumps up, and then starts off slowly and then picks up speed as it drops, like it would if, it's simulating gravity here. How could using a number besides -5 affect the way the code works? Well, try like -10. It means it's going to jump up much faster. Oops. Don't need two negatives. You can see how far up it jumps. Doesn't look as realistic. If you went with something smaller, say -2, he's not really moving much at all. All right, so just find a happy medium there. I'm going to go with -5. Again, when I hit reset and run, hit the up arrow button, it's like he's jumping. All right, let's move on to task number 9. Task number 9, you're still going to be working on this character. So it says you're now using the counter pattern with the sprite's Y velocity to simulate gravity. In this level, you'll make your sprite start floating to the right when the right arrow is pressed. Add an if statement inside your draw loop below the one that you created for the up arrow, and use the key down block to make the if statement respond to when you press the right arrow. And then inside the if block, we're going to use the sprite's Y velocity, or the sprite's velocity X, and add 0.1 to it to make it appear to be floating to the right. All right, so we have our if the up arrow went down. Now let's grab another one. So right below it, if the key went down, and this time we're dealing with the right arrow key. All right, then it said inside of the block, use the counter pattern with the sprite's velocity X block to add 0.1. All right, so the sprite's velocity X is going to be equal to the velocity X plus 1, plus 0.1, excuse me. So it's going to look just like what's up here to simulate gravity, but that's happening right from the beginning. We only want this to happen if we press that key down. So let's change it to character. And the character, and again, you can pull it over or you can type it in right here. dot velocity x, and that x is capitalized, plus 0.1. Okay, when I hit run, if I hit up, it goes up. If I hit right, the right arrow key, he's kind of floating to the right a little bit. Okay. Run your code to see how it works, and it should start floating to the right when you press the arrow, and jump when you press up. You'll make the left arrow work in the next level. All right, so let's go on to level 10. And just ignore my little guy that's up there. You'll get to that part. All right, add code to your draw loop that will make the sprite start moving to the left when the left arrow is down, and make sure you're using velocity and the counter pattern together. Once your code is working, share what you wrote with a partner, which we obviously can't do. Is your sprite easy to control? Does changing the amount you add or subtract affect the way the game feels? Because sometimes if you make it go too far to the right, then you can't find him. He's off the screen and you can't get him back. So, all right. So we're going to pretty much mimic what we did with the last one with the right arrow key. Just remember you're going to be going in the opposite direction, so we'll deal with some negatives there. All right, so key went down. This time we're dealing with the left arrow key. And I'm going to grab my sprite's velocity x again. But this time, if I'm going back the other way, we'll be subtracting. So, whoops. I'm going to go to math, grab the subtraction block instead of the addition. Again, dealing with the sprite's velocity x. But this time we'll be subtracting. So, character. And this time we'll subtract 0.1. All right, let's reset and run, see what happens. Okay, if I hit up, he jumps. If I hit the left arrow key, he starts to move to the left. Ever so slightly, I don't want him to go too fast. Hit the up arrow key, I'm gonna hit the right. Where'd you go? No, we'll play around with it. He's floating around there somewhere. All right. Oh, there he is. Taking it up. He's still moving to the left. If I hit the right, excuse me, he's still moving to the right. If I hit the left arrow key, he'll start to move around. But we'll play around with the numbers, see what works best for you. Okay, sorry, I had to take a drink there. All right. Let's take a look at 11. Still working on that flyer game. In the next few levels, you'll add to your program to make a simple game. In this game, the player will collect points to increase the score. This is a good chance to see how different kinds of movement can affect the way the game feels, and it will also just help you to practice programming skills. So, in this level, you'll just be adding a new coin sprite to the game. If you want, I can take out this obstacle because we're not there yet. So now mine will look like yours. We got going up, going floating to the right, and we can make them float to the left, and so on. So use the create sprite block to create a new sprite, and make sure to give it a descriptive name such as coin. All right, and in the animation, you'll see that there's already a coin there for you. If there was not a coin there, that's something that you can easily just add and then find your coin in here. And if you just type in coin, you'll see that it pops up. All right. So, and give it a name that you can easily find. Okay. All right. So let's go back to this level. We're going to create that coin. All right. So variable, we got a new variable here. We're going to call it coin. And I'll just make it start at 200, 200 for now. We're going to mess around with where it goes because the coin's going to be in different places all over the screen. So we'll get into some random number. All right, so the coin's animation is going to be the coin. All right, let's see what else it has us do. Use the sprite.x and sprite.y properties for the sprite to give it a random x and y position between 0 and 400. All right, so basically right here, where we say it's going to be at 200 and 200, we want it to be at a random spot every time. So I'm going to go to math and grab a random number, and I'm going to put that in both my x and y positions. And it does want it all over the screen, so we're going to go from 0 to 400 for that. So if you just click where the 1 is and just hit tab, so 0, tab, 400, tab, 0, tab, 400. So now every time you run it, it's going to be in a different location each time to start. Okay? In the animation tab, there's already a coin animation. Use that animation. All right. So we just tested it to see that the coin's going to be in a different spot. All right. So now it says when your character touches the coin, you should reset it somewhere on the screen. So place an if block inside of your draw loop and use the sprite is touching block as the condition to detect when the character touches the coin. And then when the character touches the coin, basically you want it to disappear and go to a different spot on the screen. Another position, somewhere between 0 and 400, it says, hint, you've already written this code elsewhere in your program. All right, so basically you're starting off right here by saying that the coin is going to begin at a random spot. Well, now you want to tell the program that if your character touches the coin, you want it to move to a new random spot. So if the sprite is touching, so we'll find that code, sprite is touching its target. So if the character is touching the coin, then we want the coin's position to be at a random spot on the screen somewhere between 0 and 400. So for this, we're not going to actually reset it. We're not going to put that in the create sprite like we have up here where they're together. So we're just going to say that the sprite's x value and the sprite's y value, and in this case it's the coin that's going to move, the x value is going to be in a random spot. So the coin.x is going to be a random number between 0 and 400. And the coin's y position is also going to be in a random spot between 0 and 400. So now, let's use our up arrows. Okay, so it hit it and it moved over there. So now let's try to get over there. Okay, so you've got it moving around. So now, obviously, if you collect a coin in a game, you want to earn some points. So we're going to add in kind of a scoreboard, and then we'll add in some obstacles and make it into kind of a more realistic game here. All right, let's make sure we're good here. All right, so we tested it out. We're good to go. If you test it out and it's not right, take a look at my code here. All right, so you have your coin and your character defined, and then you have your if statements. All right, we're going to keep adding to this as we go, so don't skip anything. All right, so make it your own. You now have the basic mechanics of your game in place, so it's time to make it your own. What do you want to happen? Should the character get points every time it collects a coin? Can you add a scoreboard like you learned in the last lesson? Do you want to make another coin? What about a bad coin that takes away points? Do this. Make at least one improvement to the game that makes it your own. Be prepared to save your changes. So just to give you some ideas. All right, so right now we just have our character. If he hits the coin, it moves to another spot. Well, we need to, I'm going to add in a scoreboard. I want it to keep track of what my score is going to be. So down here, I'm just going to add some text because I want it to be in the very front of the program, so it goes at the bottom. All right. So I'm going to grab my text right here. I think I'll put the scoreboard maybe up here. So I'm going to say maybe 50-20, and I wanted to just say score. And if you want the actual words on the screen, remember, you need to make sure that they're inside the quotes. So let's see what happens. Well, that's kind of small. All right. So we need to change the font size. The text size, it needs to go above it. So I might go with 24. Let's give it a try. All right, I'm going to scoot it over this way, so maybe I'm going to go 30-20. All right, that's pretty good. Maybe 25, so it moves down just a bit. I mean, you can just sit and play around with it. So there's my score. All right. Or you could call it coins collected. Maybe you want to just say the coins that are collected. Or points, whatever you want it to be. I'm just going to go with score. I think, if you want to make it a little bit bigger, you can. Again, all those are just little details that you can add in after. Okay, now we want to keep track of our score. All right, so up here we want to set a variable at the very beginning. Okay, so if we want the score to start at 0. Okay. Now every time, if my character is touching the coin, not only is it going to change those positions, but I want the score to change. So I want the score to become the score plus 1. And again, you can type it in and it'll pop up. Okay, so let's see if it worked. Although we haven't said where we're going to put that. We just put the text in. Oop. All right, so it's just moving. I don't see the score's actual number there. So what we need to do is we need to put the score up here. It's going to be after it. So now this is a little bit different. Oops. So when we grab the text again, we don't want it in quotes. We just want the score, the actual score itself to show up. So look at the difference there. My score in quotes is the word I want on there. If you'd rather have it say something else like points or coins collected, fine. The score is going to be the actual score. Now, I put this at 30-30, so maybe we'll try this at, 60-30 and see if it works out. Oh, nope, the zero's over there, so maybe we'll try 130. There it is. So now, I lost my guy. Oh, there he is. As I collect my coins, my score goes up. And eventually we'll say, if you get to 10 points, something happens, something changes. All right, so I have added the score. Again, if you want to add score, you got to start with a variable and start at a starting point. Score starts at 0. In here, if my character is touching the coin, the score goes up by 1. And then if you want the actual score to show up, again, you can put whatever text you want if it's in the quote. So maybe you want to change that to points. And then whatever the score is, it's not in quotes. You just have to figure out where you want it. Okay, so that could be the points that you have. Okay, so now maybe you wanted to play a sound. I mean, you can add in all sorts of different things. Maybe you want to put an obstacle in there. You know, be creative. And if you need help, stop and see me. I'm happy to help. I'll share mine with you a little bit later on. Have a great day.